Good evening and welcome everybody to this next episode of the Belmar Public Library's Poetry Jam Cabaret. Tonight we have Art Vielleux again, and we have returning with us Nancy Koenig. We're going to be sharing a bunch of poems for you, some classics, some new ones, and also we have something from the real current issues from the Poetry magazine. So we have some pretty cool stuff for you tonight. So just want to let you know is if you're watching this and you're liking what you see, put us in the comments below. You know, tell us what you think about these poems, tell us what you like, and make sure that you know to come next time as well. And finally, make sure you like the poem as well. We'd definitely like to see how well you enjoy us. So, without further ado, let's begin. I'm going to start with a poem that is let's start with a classic, and this one is by the Edgar Allen Poe. Yes, and this is a poem that he wrote. It was published after his passing in 1879, and it's pretty much about the passing of his wife. This is a poem of grief, poem of loss, also a poem of anger because he feels he knows who took her away, and so. But it's also set in a Gothic-like period of the Middle Ages. So you have these visions of angels, or seraphs as he calls them, and how she's taken away and put away in a sepulcher or a tomb or mausoleum. So, so without further ado, here is Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. It was many and many a year ago, in the kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and to be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that, long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee. So that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulcher in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger than by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. Edgar Allan Poe.
Great poem. Good job.
It is definitely a story of grief and pain, isn't it? And he's angry too. He's not happy. But it's a story that, you know, he feels he's getting revenge. You know, the angels may have taken away his Annabel Lee, but his soul is still with her, and therefore, even if he lies by night, he lies next to her as a told her. It's an awesome poem. Mm-hmm. Have you heard the poem before?
Oh, many times.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Read it many times.
Me too, but I didn't realize he wrote it about his wife.
Well, it sounds like it was his wife. He married his wife in 1847, I think, or 43. And he was 27 at the time, and his bride was 14. His 14-year-old cousin.
Okay.
And they lived for 10 years in happiness. She got sick. She died of tuberculosis.
Okay.
And so you know, that's a disease of the lungs and stuff. So when he refers to this cold chill, this wind that comes and chills her, he's talking probably about how this disease came out of nowhere and, you know, gave her the chills and literally took away the heat in her body. So, yeah, it sounds very much like he wrote it because of his passing his wife.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's a fantastic poem. So, I have another one. This one is by John Godfrey Saxe. Now, John Godfrey Saxe was born in Highgate, Vermont. He graduated from Middlebury College in 1839, went on to study law, and was admitted to the bar and became a prominent lawyer. He served as an Attorney General of Vermont and ran unsuccessfully as a Democratic candidate for governor, and he devoted the latter part of his life to writing. In 1874, Saxe was injured in a railway accident and never fully recovered. And tragically, in the next few years, his wife, 3 daughters, and eldest son all died, and he lived the remainder of his life as a recluse. So he wrote this poem called Where There's a Will, There's a Way. And here it goes. It was a noble Roman in Rome's imperial day who heard a coward croaker before the castle say, "They're safe in such a fortress. There is no way to shake it." On, claimed the hero. I'll find a way or make it. Is fame your aspiration? Her path is steep and high. In vain he seeks her temple, content to gaze and sigh. The shining throne is waiting, but he alone can take it, who says with Roman firmness, I'll find a way or make it. Is learning your ambition? There is no royal road. Alike the peer and the peasant must climb to her abode. Who feels the thirst of knowledge in Helicon may slake it, if he has still the Roman will to find a way or make it. Are riches worth the getting? They must be bravely sought. With wishing and with fretting, the boon cannot be bought. To all the prize is open, but only he can take it who says with Roman courage, I'll find a way or make it. In love's impassioned warfare, the tale has ever been that victory crowns the valiant, the brave are they who win. Though strong is beauty's castle, a lover still may take it, who says with Roman daring, I'll find a way or make it. John Godfrey Saxe. Pretty interesting, right? You know?
Yeah. And it reinforces that Roman attitude of being able to get things done, you know, going forward and being successful in what you try to accomplish.
Very can-do attitude.
Very can-do attitude, yes.
Absolutely. So, and it's also very inspiring as well to get off your duff and get it done, make it happen. So, all right. So I want to bring on Nancy Koenig. She's got a poem for us today. Come on, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Great.
Hello. Today I'm going to read a poem by Effie Lee Newsome. She was born in 1885 in Philadelphia, and she was actually one of the first African-American poets who primarily published poems for children. She was the author, though, of only one volume. It was called Gladiola Garden. It was published in 1940. What inspired me to read this poem, the name of it is Sunset, is the fact that on Belmar local social media, an awful lot of people post pictures of the gorgeous sunsets that we can partake of over at the marina, just looking across the water. Sunsets as well as sunrises if you look the other way. In that way, we're so very fortunate around here. But the name of this poem is Sunset by Effie Lee Newsome. Since poets have told of sunset, what is left for me to tell? I can only say that I saw the day press crimson lips to the horizon gray, and kiss the earth farewell.
Wow.
Sunset.
Yeah, great poem. Beautiful.
Those two lines, yeah, I can only say that I saw the day press crimson lips to the horizon gray and kiss the earth farewell. That is Sunset by Effie Lee Newsome.
Wow.
Beautifully written.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. It demonstrates that you can have simple words, but still have profound meaning and importance in the poem. So I think that's really an excellent example of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, good choice.
I thought so too.
Good choice. All right. Sure, thank you. Absolutely.
Okay, well, hello. Good evening. Good to be back at Poetry Jam. Tonight I'll be reading some poems. The first is an old poem that in 2009 the musical artist Natalie Merchant, who had recently given birth to a daughter, put to music along with several other classic poems, and that music is actually available in a 2-volume set. I believe it's called Leave Your Sleep. I can see that it is. And I'm going to read the poem that was the inspiration for the first song on the recording. So let me get my glasses out. Just a sec. Here's a picture of Natalie Merchant. So this first one is a poem by Charles Causley, who lived from 1917 to 2003. And the poem is called Nursery Rhyme of Innocence and Experience. I had a silver penny and an apricot tree, and I said to the sailor on the white quay, "Sailor, oh sailor, will you bring to me, if I give you my penny and my apricot tree, a fez from Algeria, an Arab drum to beat, a little gilt sword, and a parakeet?" And he smiled, and he kissed me, as strong as death, and I saw his red tongue, and I felt his sweet breath. "You may keep your penny and your apricot tree, and I'll bring you your presents back from the sea." Oh, the ship dipped down on the rim of the sky, and I waited while 3 long summers went by. Then one still morning on the white quay, I saw a gray ship come in from the sea. Slowly she came across the bay, for her flashing rigging were shot away. All round her wake the seabirds cried, and flew in and out of the hole on her side. Slowly she came in the path of the sun, and I heard the sound of a distant gun. And a stranger came running up to me from the deck of the ship, and he said he, "Are you the boy who would wait by the quay for with the silver penny and the apricot tree? I've a plum-covered fez and a drum for thee, and a sword and a parakeet from over the sea. Oh, where is the sailor with the bold red hair? And what is that volley on the bright air? Oh, where are the other boys and girls? And why have you brought me children's toys?" So kind of an unexpected ending for me on this poem, but the author both saw the World War I and participated in World War II.
saw a lot of people come and go, with many deaths from the community around him. And I think that the poem speaks about some of the loss that he experienced during that time. So that's the poem, Nursery Rhyme of Innocence and Experience. So for the second poem, I'm actually going to read from our brand new edition of Poetry Magazine. It's the summer edition, July, August 2021. It's the only month of the year that they combine 2 months together. And apparently this is the third of 3 volumes from Poetry Magazine that were edited by this one particular author, Ashley M. Jones. And she said that she wanted this to be a celebration of summer, and there's many interesting poems. I haven't had a chance to read too many, it just came in today, but I wanted to point out that the poetry is not just the words and listening to the poem, but it's also often the way that words are presented. And I think that makes poetry an interesting art form, in that way different from lyrics, because you don't often need to see how the poem is constructed to develop a deeper understanding with the lyrics. But I'm folding this up, come in and take it out, and you'll be able to get a chance to see what's on that fold out there. So I'm going to read a poem. This is by the author Jennifer Holme. And Jennifer, there's a little bit in the back of the magazine that tells you about each poet. Jennifer is the Poet Laureate of Alabama. She is the author of 3 collections of poems, a collection of short stories, and has edited 4 volumes of poetry, essays, and stories. So this is her poem called Out Walking. We don't know how to behave. As in adolescence, we stand uneasily at awkward distance from one another. As in adolescence, we stand uneasily in this new space, revising all that we have been taught. In this new space, revising the meaning of breath, hand, touch, near, our bodies become foreign to us. The meaning of breath, hand, touch, of near, misses and calls out, becomes obsessive. Even the air between us is charged now. Misses and close calls become obsessive. Better to stay in one safe place, alone but uninfected. The new monasticism. Better to stay in one safe place than become a number. The days stop counting themselves, simply march on. Become numbers. The days are the same and utterly different. Only a fool would complain about being alive. The same and utterly different. We don't know how to behave. As in adolescence, we stand uneasily at awkward distance from one another.
Wow.
And that's her poem.
That is, she just wrote that.
Yes.
It's a brand new poem.
Brand new poem.
Very, very tied into what we're going through today, isn't it? You know,
Wouldn't you say?
I think, apparently, obviously this was written with that in mind, right? It's the whole about everyone's not fully understanding how to act.
It is awkward, right?
You know? Very, very awkward.
Yeah, you walk into a building, you don't know whether you should have a mask on or not. You look around, if most people have masks on, well, you might feel uncomfortable and put your mask on. Or if they don't, you might take yours off. We're all in an awkward state right now.
And we're relying on peer pressure to suggest one thing or another, like they want to do it.
All right, well, I'll be back to read another one before the end of the jam, but we have a few more poems.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Art. So we have another poet just walked in. When I have to join us, Sharon Russell-Fowler. Come on, share us what you got.
I almost forgot, so. Okay, one of my favorite poets is Maya Angelou, and I'd forgotten that this book was here in the library. It's entitled Mother, so it's going to still be in the library, so if you want to come take it out, you can. I've been caretaking for my mom a lot lately, taking her for physical therapy, so this just had a special moment for me. So one of them is called Mother. Mother, during those early, dearest days, I did not dream that you had a large life which included me, for I had a life which was only you. So that's one for short ones there.
Wow.
Nice. Pretty deep, right? Short but meaningful.
Right.
It goes to show how much we don't, sometimes we surprise ourselves what kind of lives our parents led before we showed up,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and sometimes even after we showed up.
Well, that's what they call the circle of life, you
Yes.
know? They take care of us, now we take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another one. Time passed steadily and drew us apart. I was unwilling. I feared if I let you go, you would leave me eternally. You smiled at my fears, saying, I could not stay in your lap forever. That's kind of, you know, my mom's 87, so these are moments that I really do talk to her about. And
Is she just pushing you off her lap now?
she's just saying, you know, but she's feisty, let me tell you. She's one of those feisty moms. She is definitely one of those.
What was the name of that one?
This one didn't have a title. It
Just
just,
did.
yeah. The whole book is called Mother.
Okay.
So each one of them has to do with mom. Okay, I'll read one more here. That one day you would have to stand, and where would I be? You smiled again. I did not. Without warning, you left me, but you returned immediately. You left again and returned. I admit quickly, but relief did not rest with me easily. You left again, but again returned. You left again, but again returned. Each time you re-entered my world, you brought me assurance. Slowly, I gained confidence. So it's kind of like, you know, maybe being the helicopter mom,
Yeah.
realizing that you have to kind of
Yeah.
fly away a little.
They'll come back after a while, I guess.
Yeah.
That one goes the other way as well.
Exactly.
You know, with you as the child in the beginning leaving.
Right.
And leaving. And
Trying to
then
get that
going
little
further, And then
independence.
it's like, okay, Mom, moving out now.
And I'm back.
There you go.
So anyway, the book is entitled Mother, A Cradle to Hold Me by Maya Angelou. So if you have a chance, stop by the
Good job,
library.
Sharon.
Very nice.
Okay.
Okay, so my last poem for tonight is a poem by Thomas Buchanan Reed, Sheridan's Ride. Now, born in Gaithersville, Pennsylvania, Thomas Buchanan Reed was a portrait painter by trade. He wrote a few volumes of poetry and also edited a collection called The Female Poets of Poetry. Sheridan's Ride is his best-known poem. And Sheridan's Ride is the story of the ride of General Sheridan, the Union general in the Civil War, who, in one battle in Winchester, he was 20 miles away or somewhere away from the battle, and he had to ride in to save the day because his troops were losing. And he rushed in from his quarters to take command and ultimately won victory that day. So, this is Sheridan's Ride by Thomas Buchanan Reed. Up from the south at break of day, bringing to Winchester fresh dismay, the affrighted air with a shudder bore, like a herald in haste to the chieftain's door. The terrible grumble and rumble and roar, telling the battle was on once more, and Sheridan 20 miles away. And wider still those billows of war thundered along the horizon's bar, and louder yet into Winchester rolled the roar of that Red Sea uncontrolled, making the blood of the listener cold, as he thought of the stake in that fiery fray with Sheridan 20 miles away. But there was a road from Winchester town, a good broad highway leading down, and there, through the flush of the morning light, a steed as black as the steeds of night was seen to pass as with eagle flight. As if he knew the terrible need, he stretched away with his utmost speed. Hills rose and fell, but his heart was gay, with Sheridan 15 miles away. Still sprang from those swift hoofs, thundering south, the dust like smoke from the cannon's mouth, or the trail of a comet sweeping faster and faster, foreboding to traitors the doom and disaster. The heart of the steed and the heart of the master were beating like prisoners assaulting their walls, impatient to be where the battlefield calls. Every nerve of the charger was strained to full play, with Sheridan only 10 miles away. Under his spurning feet, the road like an arrowy alpine river flowed, and the landscape sped away behind, like an ocean flying before the wind. And the steed, like a bark fed with furnace ire, swept on with his wild eye full of fire. But lo, he is nearing his heart's desire. He is snuffing the smoke of the roaring fray, with Sheridan only 5 miles away. The first that the general saw were the troops of stragglers, and then the retreating troops. What was to be done? What to do? A glance told him both. Then striking his spurs with a terrible oath, he dashed down the line mid a storm of huzzas, and the wave of retreat checked its course there, because the sight of the master compelled it to pause. With foam and with dust, the black charger was gray. By the flash of his eye and his red nostrils play, he seemed to the whole great army to say, I have brought you Sheridan all the way, from Winchester down to save the day. Hurrah, hurrah for Sheridan, hurrah, hurrah for horse and man. And when their statues are placed on high, under the dome of the Union sky, the American soldier's temple of fame, there with the glorious general's name, be it said in letters most bold and bright, here is the steed that saved the day by carrying Sheridan into the fight from Winchester, 20 miles away. Thomas Buchanan.
Very nice.
The poem is actually about the horse.
It is,
Isn't it?
Focuses on the horse.
It's all about the horse, you know? I mean, here he is running and charging and huffing and puffing, and it doesn't really mention Sheridan until he gets there, right? So this is Thomas Buchanan's most famous poem, and it's an excellent story. Although it deviates from the truth, as most things like this do. But for the most part, yeah, it's a fantastic story right there. So that's my last poem. Art, I think you got one more for us.
I do.
All right, bring it home, Art.
Now, one nice thing about having your family and friends know that you're interested in poetry is that they send you tips. Oh, I've heard about this poet, or I picked up that book, or have you ever heard of? And just today, one of my cousins sent me a tip about a poet that she hears readings from in her yoga class. So I'm going to read the first poem in a book. I believe it's called 10 Poems to Change Your Life. So you know how yoga looks at that development of the individual and tries to help them find, a deeper meaning in some ways. And I think the poetry that they picked to go along with it is similar. So I'm going to read this poem called The Journey.
Who's the author, by the way?
Oh yeah, the author's name, right? I should mention that, give him credit. Let's see, I have to go back to the text. Let's see, where is that? I think it's over here. Let's see. Okay. So the author's name is Roger Housden, Housden, Roger Housden. And he has several books of poetry. And this is from one of the books, and the poem's called The Journey. Thank you for reminding me there. I want to leave the poet out. Okay. The Journey. One day, you finally knew what you had to do and begun. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice. Though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, through their melancholy as terrible. It was already late enough, and the wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. Little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. The Journey. Okay.
Interesting.
And it's funny because I have a friend who's going through a change that this journey talks about. So I sent her the poem this morning too. I got a lot of use out of this poem from my friends. So never just put off your friends' comments about, hey, you should check this out. I think it was very appropriate for today. All right, that's all I have. So I'll turn it back over to you, Louis.
All right. Well, that just about does it for tonight's Poetry Jam Cabaret. I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank Sharon. I want to thank Nancy and Art for sharing poetry with us tonight. And I want to thank all of you watching this tonight. Once again, if you like what you see, please comment down below on the video. Tell us what you think. Which ones did you like? What did you think of them? And hit the like button on the videos and let us know that you like them for us. So the next Poetry Jam Cabaret is in 2 weeks. And we will have the notices up on our website. Follow us on our website and on our Facebook page as well. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Yay!